Oh, hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Hey guys, what's up? This is False Rules 123, and welcome to my August wrap-up. So guys, it has been a kind of shit month for reading, and I don't know if any of you have actually seen the Instagram live stories that I did for the summer reading vlog. But if you did, some of this might be a bit of repetition. If you haven't, good on you. So, getting back to the topic at hand, I read 4 books in, the month of August, and then I partially read, let me just count them all up, 5 other books, which is not great. 2 or 3 of them I put down, 2 of them I'm going to be finishing up next month, so I'm only going to give you a basic synopsis, and I'll give you my official review once that actually I'm finished with them. If that makes sense, perfect. Let's go off and go on. Also, guys, I am eating Taco Bell because I really want to channel my inner channeling Ainsley and just kind of like do some sort of mukbang shit because I like that video model. And also, I would like to mention that Medford is in the middle of a giant heat wave, and it's going to be in like the hundreds for the entire week. It is like 101 outside right now, so thank God for air conditioning. So guys, first book up is Such a Fun Age by Kiley, Reid. So, quick synopsis of the book, it would have to be, you're following the story of a nanny named Amira who is essentially taking care of this child. She worked for this affluent, upper middle class, white family. And she basically gets, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, accosted by some rented cop at the Kroger's. And so everyone in her life, and so she doesn't really consider this big, impactful incident. It happens, and she just wants to get over with it and deal with her real shit. And so there's a bunch of drama and other things that happens, like, in her life after this incinerating event. And she's really sort of dealing with a lot of her own personal issues. And the story also is looked at from the perspective of her boss. I'm trying to remember the name, Elise, who was dealing with their own shit. And so, on the surface level, it looked really interesting, especially because mostly bitches just being racist in a Whole Foods and shit like that. But on the other hand, there was also this drama aspect that really drew me in after the initiating, writing style. Elements that I really enjoyed about this book was the dramatic aspect of it, just how all the characters played off each other and how they interacted with each other. Another great aspect was how the characters were written. Every single character had this very deep, nuanced personality where they could do shitty things, or they could do not shitty things, and it would be balanced. You would have an understanding and sympathy for the characters despite their actions, which I enjoyed. There was also a lot of discussion of, I believe the term was pejorative allyship, not pejorative, performative allyship. Basically, doing shit for people, not necessarily because you care or want them to become better people, to be in a better situation, but because you feel this sort of societal feel-good energy for it. Sort of the same type of being a slacktivism, right? You're not doing it so much as in regards to caring about things, caring about people, giving a shit. It's more about the, oh, I'm a do-good person, listen to me jangle my coins as I put them in the type box type shit. And so, I think that in the story, you have these 2 characters, Elise and, what's his name? Kyle, I believe, or Kiley, something like that. Magic editing, you'll find his name there somewhere. And both of them are basically these 2 separate foils of how, essentially, white allies try to have their own agenda or their own sort of beliefs, and impose that onto, African American, friends or relatives or whatever the fuck. And so both of them have their own way of, loving or caring about Amira. But in the same way, there were definitely parts of the books where they literally felt they were fighting over her. And I literally just imagine them the 2 of them in a schoolyard, Amira's some sort of ragdoll, and they're fighting back and forth. And they're just no, she's my black friend. And so, Such a Fun Age was just a really great book. It had a lot of social commentary. It was just a spectacular drama. If you like M.S. Ing's work, you would definitely like Such a Fun Age, because it's great. I loved it, and it's great. So, second book up, I also got to read a fantastic novel by an Indigenous author, Stephen Graham Jones, who, if I remember correctly, has some sort of doctorate in, I believe, indigenous studies or something of the sort. Don't remember exactly. Magical editing bar, you'll see. Anyway, he wrote this novel called The Only Good Indians, which I've been hyping up. I finally bought it. You might have seen it on my Instagram. If not, I'll put a picture there maybe. And it was just, I loved it. So let's get into what the story is about. First of all, yes to creepy ass Native American mythology ghosts. That's what we love to see. You know, basically, bitches being followed around by some spirits, the shit they did in the past. I'm not going to tell you about it, but it's very animistic and it's very fucking creepy, and you'll love to see it. Very original monster design. That's all I'm going to say. So a lot of this storytelling is told through the perspective of the characters. It's all very much in their head. I believe it would be third-person omniscient would be the... So for a lack of a better term, I would call it King-esque, right? The story is told through third-person omniscient, and a lot of the world building and sort of like, you know, fleshing out is done through sort of the thought processes of all the characters. And it takes place through multiple perspectives, generally one perspective per chapter, you know. And the whole thing is just really vibrant. There are great characters in it. There are just some amazing, like, you know, character dynamics and all of the sort of history and world building that just really makes the entire, I guess, story just so fleshed out. And then there are also these great descriptive moments of the characters, and also some, what's the word I'm looking for, epistolary elements, like newspapers, articles, and things like that. So one of the elements I love about this book was how Jones handled the death scenes. In horror, you tend to have sort of two camps when it comes to killing characters on screens. One, you have kind of the torture porn method, which is like, you know, what you get with Grindhouse, any sort of, like, you know, film like that, where it's very gory, it's very bloody, and the violence is explicit. And that's where you have very drawn, body horror would be another genre that happens a lot. And we have, like, very drawn out, very gruesome, disturbing scenes of gore and violence. And the main horror element is with just the viscera, with the physical element of seeing, like, you know, the sort of disintegration of the body in all this full gory glory. That's what I want to say. The other camp is really more of the slasher, which is where death scenes are happening very abruptly, very aggressively, and usually the sort of threshold for what would constitute a character's death is very low. So, for instance, in an action film, injuries are very uncommon, they're very superficial, and so injury for a character, the threshold will be very high. In a horror film, the threshold is much lower, especially in slasher films. Unless you're the final girl or something, and then usually, since they're considered more of an action-style character, is more than that. That's not the point. So, essentially, to get back on track here, the deaths in the book are much more realistic. They're much more grounded in reality for what you would expect a normal person to survive. And so there are a lot of sudden, very abrupt deaths, and the horror from that is derived from really the shock of the situation. That this character is just like that, boom, dead bitches, shit's going down, oh my goodness, why are they bleeding? And it's really that abrupt shock for many of the death scenes which makes the book so intensely spectacular. It also has these great elements of psychological and horror and suspense, and these really help shroud out the entirety of the novel. I haven't read too many horror novels this year. The ones I have read are technically thrillers, which I'm still trying to understand the difference between a thriller and a horror novel. Because while there are many overlapping themes and tropes, they do seem to be very distinct in terms of, like, you know, writing style and in terms of plot. So this is straight up good shit horror, and literally is fucking fantastic. You need to read this book. It's great. If you're looking for indigenous authors who own voices, this is the shit you want. So that's my opinion. It's 5 out of 5 stars. So third up, and I just want to mention that all the books that I finished reading this month, I gave 5 out of 5 stars. It was a great reading month in terms of quality content. It was not a great reading month in terms of quantity. content. You get what I'm saying? I read Yes Please by Amy Poehler, and it was so fucking good. Like I said before about all of this shit. So if you don't know, Amy Poehler is a comedian. I believe that she's specifically an improv comedian is her main sort of branch of comedy. And she's probably most well known either for SNL skits, which she did for several years, or as her work as Leslie Knope in Parks and Recreation. So I really love Amy Poehler. She is just a great actress. She's a great comedian. And so I really wanted something a lot more light for the month, because month's been stressful, month's been kind of shitty, and so I wanted to read something that was nice. So essentially this, I also forgot to mention it, but Yes Please is also an autobiography or memoir. Not really sure what the difference is. I'm just going to say memoir because I think that's more accurate. Point being, you get a lot of different elements and aspects of her life. She talks about her being one of the founding members of the UCB, which I did not know she was a founding member of. And also she used to date Matt Besser, which I also didn't know, and that's so fucking cool. And I realized that I'm probably the only fucking nerd that knows who Matt fucking Besser is, but just want to let you know that they totes hooked up, and that's fucking awesome. And also one time she met Refractor. Anyway, so getting back on point, she talks about her founding the UCB, or at least being one of the main participants and helping it grow in the many cities that it exists in. Her becoming an improv actress, her getting an SNL, her working for Parks and Recreation. So a lot of the really high points of her career, and it's just absolutely hilarious. She has a great humorous style. I really love everything she writes. And if I remember correctly, and I'm editing this out if it's not true, I'm also fairly certain that Amy Poehler also was one of the main creators for Russian Doll. It's this great time loop upstairs. This time loop TV show on Netflix, Netflix original. It's fantastic. It stars Natasha Lyonne. You should fucking watch it. It's great. Anyway, point being, she writes about a lot of different aspects of her career, and she has a great comedic writing style. And so all of it was hilarious. I literally was laughing so hard, while listening to this book, that I kept almost driving off the road. It was a little bit of an issue, but don't worry about it. Sorry for the noise. I'm grabbing myself a bean burrito. But point being is I really loved the story. Some really fun aspects is that it was an audiobook, so it starred some really familiar voices, like Patrick Stewart. He read a haiku about plastic surgery and how that Botox does not look good on you, sweetie. It also starred Amy Poehler's parents, who are from Boston, so they talk with a Boston accent. And I'm sorry for all you folks living in Boston, because I'm an offensive prick and a douchebag. Anyway, that was my whole attempt at a Boston accent. The parents actually sound like they're from Boston, because they're from Boston. Also, Amy Poehler is from Boston. And I can't believe it, because she sounds so great with a Boston accent, and I fucking love it. No matter what she says, the Boston accent is the best accent. So, I probably didn't tell you jack shit about the book. Basically, it's a really fun memoir. If you like memoirs and you like comedians, read it. If you don't read it. There you go. Next up is the only reread that I had for this month, and that was Dial a Ghost by Ibotson. And I did enjoy it. I was wavering for a bit over whether or not I wanted to give it 4 or 5 stars. I think as I grow older, middle grade does not hold. Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's a middle grade supernatural fantasy novel, I guess you would call it. It's not horror, it is very whimsical. Anyway, I feel that as I get older, middle grade has less and less impact for me. I still enjoy middle grade, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't draw me in the same effect that I had as a child. So, let's talk about what I really like about the book, and also give you a brief synopsis, because I already recap this so many times on my Instagram, and I don't really feel like saying it again. Basically, there's a kid. He's an orphan, and that's sad. He gets a fun, free estate because, he's the long-lost heir, and his cousins want to murder him. How do they want to murder him? With ghosts, because ghosts exist, and there's a temp agency called Dial a Ghost, which gives you ghosts if you ask for ghosts. But guess what? He doesn't get the murder ghosts that like to murder children. He gets a nice family who's just who got bombed to shit during the London Blitz, and now they live in a knicker shop, and it's really sad. But see, he gets some found family. He does not get murdered by ghosts, and shit goes down, and shit gets good, and shit gets wholesome. It's fantastic. So let's talk about what I like about the book. Basically, all the characters are really great. Eva Ibotson has this amazing ability to write really fun and whimsical characters that can be horrific and absurd and terrible, but still have this amazing, enjoyable quality to them. But Eva Ibotson also has a unique British ability to just have fucked up shit and whimsy shit go together and somehow mesh into a very enjoyable experience. Eva Ibotson is like the female version of Roald Dahl, and I feel like this is an accurate comparison. I would not say, like, I think the wolves are, I wouldn't like to say equivalent because I feel like that's disrespecting both of their canons, but they are both in their own right very amazing writers, and they both have a unique sense of whimsy, which pairs very similarly into both of their writing styles. So if you like Roald Dahl, you would like Eva Ibotson, definitely. That's why I'm trying to make this comparison. So, whimsical characters, what else? Another great aspect was just the atmosphere of the book. Obviously, there's some gothic vibes to it, considering that it involves ghosts and a creaky old mansion, and she really is able to have a very sort of whimsical gothic feel to the story, with things that kind of dank and dark and disturbing, but in this very sort of camp, what's the name of that movie? Haunted Manor, that was it, the Disney film. And it's sort of campy and it's sort of that Haunted Manor Disney-esque type feeling where it's horror tropes, but used in a very light way. So there's some straight up, shit goes down, don't get me wrong. There are some intense moments in this book, but they're not as intense as you would read in like an adult horror book. It's much more lighter, but it still has that supernatural, ghostly element that makes reading horror really enjoyable. That's why I've been calling it a supernatural fantasy rather than a horror book, because I feel those genres are very distinctive in the sense of tone and content. There we go. Basically, Dolly Ghost is just a childhood favorite. I loved it. I still love it to this day. It doesn't hold on to me as strongly as it did when I was a child, but I still can't say that it isn't great every single aspect, and this the best fucking read, and the illustrations are beautiful. So, 5 out of 5. I'm going to finish up my lunch now, but I will, when I get home and I check my phone a little bit, I will give you sort of a try a chapter version of the 5 books that I didn't finish this month. So, thanks for watching. See you in a bit. Hey guys, thanks for waiting while I can't change the camera. So I'm having a nice little picnic style outside my house right now, so if there's traffic, oh well, the audio is already shot for this. I have read 5 books partially, and here are my initial thoughts on all of them. First up, My Best Friend's Exorcism. I'm still reading it. It's about halfway through it. It's decent. What's the story about? Basically, it follows 2 friends, Abby and Gretchen. Abby's, poor as fuck. It's sad. Gretchen has a lot of money. Good to know. Pretty much, Gretchen tripped some acid because it's like the middle of the 80s, and that's what you did in the 80s. And now Abby thinks that she got a whole big old demon up in her. And we're like, okay, let's get it. So far, it's been a bit of a slow burn, but I'm enjoying the story. Definitely has some good 80s nostalgia. If you want to know more about this shit, I talked for too fucking long about it on Instagram. Go look me up on Instagram. It's at Ryan James. So, pretty decent. And I'm trying to, do a little speed round because I'm tired of talking. There we go. Next up, Midnight Blue Light Special. Might have recognized that from my haul video. Pretty much follows the story of a woman named Verity Price. She's a monster hunter, but you don't say that because it's racist. She's a cryptid researcher or some shit. She likes to do ballroom dance, and she's fucking kind of the shady world government dude. But it's okay because he's hot. Don't really know what's happening in it, but I'm a couple chapters in, and I think it's pretty decent so far. I don't love it. I don't hate it. I'm not going to throw it out of the bed for eating crackers. You know what they say. Next up, The Prince, Nikolai Machiavelli. It's a classic. It's about some guy being shady and doing government shit. Let me give you a better background about it. Capiche? Pretty much Nikolai Machiavelli, he pulls it down to Aguilari and he gets kicked out of his hometown for being a shady bitch. So he's living on his farm and he's being like, you know what's going to get me back in the good gracious? What if I talk to Mr. Principal up there in the high castle and say, hey, you want to read a book about political discourse that I wrote so that you can love me and give me back my title? That's what this book is about. It involves a lot of 14th century Italian politics, and frankly, it's a little bit dull. But don't worry, this man by the name of Daniel Dano translated it, and he's really good at sucking his own dick to tell you about 14th century Italian politics. I'm going to read this at some point, but right now I'm just kind of about it, you know? Okay. Next up, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Wait a second, I'm in a hurry. It's by Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's about people who want to learn about the cosmic universe but don't have too much time to read boring shit. But that's okay. Neil deGrasse Tyson is going to be real good at condescending to you in between the times that he makes fun of religious people. Because you know what they say, Catholics not imbue with proper scientific reason and present a dogma which proven to be false, but you know he ain't never read no Thomas Aquinas now. Anyway, yeah, it's a bit condescending, but the astrophysics is interesting. I don't know if I'll finish it, though. Next up, The Fight for $15. I like $15. Let's talk about it some more. In actuality, the entire thing is talking about basically how this middle class is shrinking. Corporations are a piece of shit and we're all going to die poor and used by society. That's the man for you. It actually has a lot of really interesting discussions about wage slavery and a bunch of other fucked up shit that happens in America that honestly makes me kind of sad. That's why I didn't finish it, because honestly it hit a bit too close to home. Really good though. Eventually, I think I'm going to get the actual physical book, and that'll be a bit easier to process it, because a lot of these nonfiction books I've been reading are been super fucking dense, and it's a little hard to get through. Anyway, guys, that is my quick, rapid, dash style, whatever the fuck ever, first couple chapters of all those books that I did not finish reading. Did you like this segment? Did you think it was fun? If not, I'm kind of tired of editing super fucking long videos, so I'm chill with it. So there you go. Anyway, guys, thanks for being patient with my channel. I know it's been that the upload schedule lately has been fucking weird, but I appreciate it. And honestly, if you want to watch more stuff from me, I did upload 87 fucking days of daily vlogs during the quarantine, so I'm sure there's something in there that you can enjoy. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully this was fun. If not, I don't know what to tell you. You can check me out in a bunch of other places, by the way. I have an Instagram. I have 2 blogs. One is called RJ's Diner. This is where I post fruit, recipes. And the other one is called the Boolean blog, where I post articles and reviews. If you like that shit, check me out. There's links in my description, on my about page, on the YouTube, whatever. Also, you can like, comment, subscribe. That would be super chill if you did. I won't blame you if you don't, though. And you can share this video with, your friends if you want. Don't know why you would, but hey, I ain't gonna stop you. Anyway, guys, just remember, wash your hands, tell your loved ones you love them, and spend every day trying to be a better person, okay? It's False Blues 1, 2, 3, and I'm, you know it, signing off.